Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Awaken the World. Today we present A Peaceful Existence, live on the Awaken the World YouTube channel. It is 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Wednesday, May 16th. And good morning to everyone. Now, the trick is this morning is I don't actually have Kelly on the other computer. She's doing her piano lessons today. Hello, Jennifer. Good morning. Nice to see you. How are you this morning? Hope you're having a wonderful day. We were up at about 20 to 6 this morning and outside working at 6:30 until about 9:30 because that's the best time of day for us around here. And today it's going to be about 30 degrees and really muggy. And you know what? At our age, it's too hot. I just don't like to do that anymore. So we do our work in the morning and we do our work in the evening and we get it done that way. So today we're going to talk about a peaceful existence. And you know, I'm watching a really good series. It's an indie series on Netflix right now, and it's simply called Buddha. And it is a fantastic episodic series of the life of Siddhartha. And, you know, one of the things that Siddhartha is coming to realize is that life, when filtered through our egoic mind, is suffering. It really is. It's not peaceful. It's full of pain. It's full of, you know, our beliefs that things aren't fair and they're not right and that this is wrong and why do some people get treated this way and others do not. You know, and a real world case in point that's happening right now is the continuing battle over dealing with homelessness. And, you know, it gets really frustrating because we watch this in Vernon, and I have written letters and tried to hold live events to bring awareness. We are symptom fighters. We're always fighting symptoms. We're never going after the problem. And the reason being is to go after the problem would mean we would have to get serious. And as long as we're fighting symptoms, we don't really have to get serious. It's kind of like when you get a cold for the first time, you know, and when you have a cold, if you sit there and just swallow cough syrup all day, you're going to get by the day. It's not going to be the greatest day, but you're going to get by it. If you don't take time to rest yourself, to allow your body to heal, though, that cold can become worse and worse and worse. Just turning the volume off on the phone. I apologize about that. So how do we live the type of existence we want to live? And you know, more and more I've come to understand that everywhere in the world, all the places I've visited, and I've been quite fortunate, I've laid my own footprints on about 50 different countries, not including the European Union, which is an additional 20 some odd right there alone. But I don't really count those because you can travel from country to country to country all within the same day. It's pretty quick. All of those places I've been, all of the tens of thousands of people I've met and talked to and ran into over the years, we all want the same thing. We all want a sense of peace. We all desire a sense of contentment, that things are okay, that tomorrow is going to be okay, and that whatever's happening today is not going to have long-term repercussions to us. And you'd think we'd look a little deeper. You know, myself, I want a peaceful existence for all of us. I want a peaceful existence for every single member of humanity. And when I say a peaceful existence, I'm talking about what really represents a peaceful existence. And the first part of that is physical. We have an opportunity on this planet to provide every single man, woman, and child with a proper standard of living. And you see, here's the issue right now. Right now, we are not living a peaceful existence. Right now, the vast majority of people are struggling. Struggling day to day, struggling with work, struggling with depression, struggling with anger and fear and thoughts of suicide, and struggling with family issues, and struggling with not enough food and not enough money coming in to make ends meet. and struggling with a system that more and more and more has God in the form of the dollar. Not that sea of consciousness. Not the God of the Christians or the God of the Jews or the God of the Muslims, but the almighty dollar. And every single one of those churches out there, every single one of them is worshiping that dollar. They're not worshiping God. They're not worshiping that sea of consciousness. And you know what? That sea of consciousness doesn't even need your worship. What it wants, what it desires is recognition so that you can live your life with meaning and with power and with peace. We have the ability to move away from this sort of a system. You know, it really amazes me that the entirety of the human race will be so caught up in this monetary system that none of us understand that it is a lie. It is manufactured. It does not exist. It's theoretical. It's not real in any form. You know, at least back in the day, we used to tie dollar bills to the amount of gold you had stashed in the warehouse. That ended 50 years ago. And ever since that point, money, it is the power on the planet. And those who have money, those who have their hands on the God of money, they act God-like with that money. Now, you know, I've heard a lot of talk, you know, wow, come on, Bill Gates, he's donated over $1.5 billion. The guy's worth $500 billion almost. You know, I don't care who donates to what. I don't care what country sends how many dollars to what. That's the easy thing. You're sending nothing. You're sending paper. You're sending a notation in the digital world that says, oh, now you have this much, so you can go ahead and eat for a while. But we own you now because that's a loan, and we're going to want that digital currency back. And this is how the power and control structure on our planet takes over our lives one step at a time. Until more and more, year after year, we struggle. So much of our energy goes into trying to get by that we don't even have time to understand what a peaceful existence really is. For us, peace is that brief second when you get your paycheck and you realize you're going to pay down some of your debts again so they'll quit phoning you. Peace is that little bit of time you get between all the hours you have to work and all the things you have to do around your residence or your place of living or whatever you need to do to survive. Peace is that little tiny bit of time you have left over. And what do we do with that time? We take that time and we stare at screens. Now, you know, I'm the first one to tell you, if you have an opportunity to go out and be in nature as opposed to watch me later. Go ahead and listen to this when it's raining or miserable or you don't feel like going out or it's evening and you want to relax. But if you have the opportunity right now to be outside in nature, to get out there, away from the masses, away from the struggling, away from that city, and that concrete. You know, one of the biggest reasons why we don't have a peaceful existence these days is we've lumped ourselves in huge numbers into these concrete jungles, these heat islands that produce massive amounts of heat. And the interesting thing about limestone, which is one of the primary ingredients in concrete, is that limestone has the ability to hold feeling memory. It can hold the energetic emanations that come off of us. It literally stores it. And if you need proof of that, go visit Auschwitz. Go to Poland and see the 3 separate camps that made up the facility. And when you walk into the one camp where they did their experiments and actually gassed people, the walls, the concrete walls and the brick and mortar of that place holds this vibration still to this day. You know, I went there and I watched even the most gregarious tourist go absolutely silent in a heartbeat upon walking into that space. So in these big cities, surrounded by all this energetic absorption material, the struggle that goes on, and the anger and the fear and the sense of loss and suffering and depression builds and builds and builds inside the city. It builds and builds until the city itself becomes a giant sphere of negative energy, which everyone inside struggles against, whether they're aware of it or not. It's kind of like a frog in a pot. If you put a frog in room temperature water on the stove and put the stove on low, as the water heats up, the frog won't go anywhere. It doesn't know what's happening. So the water gets hotter and hotter, and the frog just thinks that this is the way it is, and finally the frog boils and dies. This is the way we are inside cities. This is the way we have become in our societal existence. We're like that frog slowly boiling in the water, not aware that the water's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and we're struggling trying to understand what's going on. You know, I don't go near big cities anymore. I can't. The closest I get is a very rare trip into Kelowna, which has about 120,000 spread out. And that's only if I have to go see a doctor regarding my skin cancer. And it's a rare time I will go there. I can't handle millions of people, because for me, that's like taking the frog and dumping it right in the boiling water. The water's already boiling, and of course the frog's going to try and get out right away. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. It's a powerful analogy, because it really does speak to what's happening with us. You know, we take it and we take it, and then that becomes the norm. And then we take it and we take it, and that becomes the norm. And as it grows, right, this level of pressure on top of us, normal, 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 normal. Well, it's normal to feel all this pressure. It's normal to feel this way. This is part of what it means to be alive in our societies. This is normal. It's not normal. You know, you've always heard me talk about right and wrong, and I will be crystal clear with you. There really is no right and wrong. There is only the choices that you make and the responsibilities that you face from those choices. And those choices are made collectively and they're made individually on all sorts of levels. And we are ultimately responsible for our choice. We are not to blame. In the same way we don't blame that 50,000-pound baby I keep referencing that's ripping roofs off trying to get milk. You got to stop the baby, but the baby only really wants milk. We're really the same way. We want a peaceful existence. We want a life without suffering. We want a life of joy and of happiness and of compassion and upliftment and evolvement. We all want that in our core. Not a single one of us would trade the horrors of war for a peaceful existence. So why do we keep choosing it? Why do we keep choosing war? Why do we keep choosing the hard road? Why do we keep choosing the pain and the suffering? Why do we keep creating it? When are we going to truly awaken? There's some steps. There's some steps that we can take, and you'll have to bear with me because this gets to be a very emotional subject with me. I've buried too many children who've starved to death, you know. When I was working in Ethiopia as a volunteer, I was in this one village in Ethiopia, and this would have been about the early 90s. And in that village, I buried 4 or 5 children a week, every week, for 2 months, putting up with the screams and the cries of the leftover parent, if there was one, or parents, the wailing of the women. Tiny little forms with bones sticking out through the skin, because we can't give them some of our food, because we need to have all this food to throw away. We need to have all this food to go rotten. We need to have all this grain to burn. We need to have all this milk to pour down drains instead of selling it for cheap or transporting it somewhere where it could go to good use. This is not peace. And again, I apologize because it's a tough subject. It really is. When I think about those children, you know, when I think about the 40,000 people who starve to death every day, and the vast majority of them are children, 40,000. You know, the town of Vernon has 33,000 people in it, and it covers about a 10 square kilometer area. Imagine that every single person in Vernon dies between now and tomorrow morning. You walk into a ghost town full of rotting corpses, nearly 40,000 of them. This is how we choose to live. It is our choice that these people die every day. Our choice. Not blame, but responsibility. It is heartbreaking, and it's difficult, because I love them all. I really do. So what can we do? What can we do to deal with the way we choose to live? How can we come to this better place? And you know, I struggle daily. I spend the vast majority of my time in contemplation on what to talk about next, what to bring to people's attention next, what to do to bring the awareness up. And this has become my path. It really has. Good morning, Cindy. Sorry, you caught me in a moment there. I went down a path that I knew was going to end that way, and then I got what was coming. So what do we really mean by a peaceful existence? And you know, this goes beyond the idea of a monk in a monastery, okay? And I tried that route. I did. I spent years in monasteries. You know, avoided the world of man as much as possible, until one day I had a lama when I was in Tibet after I'd been in this monastery for about 3 months straight. And he says to me, he says, you know, you have to leave the monastery. You have to take this back out there. There are a world of people who need to wake up. And this is not blame. Again, this is responsibility. It's responsibility for where we are at, responsibility for the choices we're making, and the understanding how we need to move forward from here. A peaceful existence really begins with understanding that drama of ego, and to ego, everything is drama. You know, everything is personal, everything is taken personally. Now, I sit here and I know at a higher level of being, there's a larger part of me that sees all the trees, sees the whole forest. You know, and as long as I don't focus on that one tree, Debbie's here too. Hi, Debbie. Nice to see you as well. Good time of the morning. I guess that works out time zone-wise, because I think you're 9 hours ahead of us, I do believe, right? It's about 7 p.m. your time, if I'm right, over there in merry old England. It's nice to see you too. It's actually wonderful to see all of you. You know, it really is. I find it very uplifting to give these talks, and I love the interactions we have, and bless you all for it, really. So this drama of ego, and you know, I've talked about the drama of ego before, and understanding that most of the ego's drama is based around our crazy expectations. We form expectations that people should do what we want, that things should turn out the way we want, that things should go exactly the way we planned it. And we never think in our drama that the way we had planned it, the way we had wanted it to turn out, may not have served us very well. And this is the biggest thing, you know, and actually I believe it was Cindy who had sent a post a while ago, and this is what Cindy had said. She said, "You are consciously awakening, you start your day full of love and light, it's going to be a great day. You're going to take mom to the beach the next day, you want things to be perfect. Calls from the co-op realtor, messed up your deal. Don't call her an idiot, she's just acting idiotic, right? Chill out. You got upset. Relax. Buy new tires. Credit card won't get through. Embarrassment. They're not stupid. They're just acting stupidly. Card goes through, no problem. Flat tire 3 blocks from the store. You are hot, sweaty, miserable, and mad, but trying to be patient. Problem solved. What is it we do or project or whatever that seems to take what's going to be a great day and turn it upside down? I know I'm going to regret asking this." Well, no regrets, okay? No regrets, Cindy. You know, there's a number of things, and a lot of it comes with that expectation again, right? Expectations that things are going to go the way we want them to go. And sometimes we cannot see today, tomorrow, even this year, why things went the way they did go. As I believe I commented, all the delays, all the things that you experienced on that day, one, they do a lot to teach us where we are at, where we are still holding on to and personalizing things, where we are not accepting the isness of what is, where we are not surrendering to exactly what's coming to us. This is all part of that peaceful existence. It's letting go of the drama. It's surrendering and accepting whatever is right here, right now. Now, accepting and surrendering to it does not mean that you have to stick with it. So let's look at an example. You plan to spend a day with a friend, and that friend comes to your door ready to go to the beach, or you're ready to go to the beach, and they're angry and upset. They've had a miserable morning. They didn't even bother bringing any of their stuff for the beach with them. They don't even want to go to the beach, and you had your heart set on the beach. Your expectation will cause you to behave in a certain way if you're coming from an egoic state. Okay, you're going to be upset with your friend. You're not really going to be concerned why they're upset. You're going to be more upset that the trip to the beach is ruined. And it's not going to work out well. It really won't. But if and in the acceptance, in the surrendering to what is, you may have a real opportunity to help your friend. And perhaps, unbeknownst to you, if you would have gotten in the car and drove to the beach at exactly that time, your vehicle would have been T-boned by a dump truck. Someone who wasn't paying attention. And you and your friend would have been killed in that moment. It's really hard for us to look at things that way, but, you know, we really don't know all the things that could have happened. All we're left to deal with is what did happen. And our expectations and our personalizing of that happening are what cause us to move away from that peaceful existence and move into that dramatic existence. The drama of frustration, anger, sadness, fear, all of these roller coaster emotions, happy and joyful, sad and depressed, angry, ecstatic. We can go through these whole range of emotions, and we get so caught up on these feelings, we get so caught up in them, and we think they represent everything, and of course they don't. They're just a product of the way we're thinking at the time. Just a reminder whether we're lining up with universal truth in our higher self or whether we're turning away from it. The drama of ego is very much wrapped up in our expectations and wrapped up in the personalization of everything. And if you have to take it personally, understand that that sea of consciousness has a much wider viewpoint than you do. And it can see. It seems like it's always a negative happening. Wouldn't a positive event keep me from being T-boned? Well, negative and positive are all your judgments, right? Each of us judges things negatively or positively. And it is a judgment. And that's one of the things about surrender. Surrender sees all things as positive. Surrender understands that that sea of consciousness, that loving creator, has your back 100% and loves you completely and totally, no matter what you choose to do, no matter how bad you feel you screw up, no matter how tiny you may think you are. That sea of consciousness knows everything, and it's looking at the whole, Cindy. And those things we label negative or positive, the number of times in my life that something that I thought was positive turned out to actually really not do me any good, there's a big list of those. Life will bring to us exactly what we need to grow, exactly what we need to evolve, and in that it is all perfect. And we must really start to think that way. Debbie says, this happened to me last weekend. I wanted a friend to come to the coast and he didn't want to go, so I went on your own. And there was still some disappointment. And I understand that. You have an expectation you're going to go. The person didn't go with you. You made a choice. You made a choice for yourself then to go anyways. And yeah, you're disappointed because you have an expectation you're looking forward to. You're thinking of all the things that may be done or that are going to be done, and that makes us happy and excited. See, here's the thing. You don't really need to do the things in order to have those feelings. Now, I just want everyone to think about this because this really plays into the drama of ego and having a peaceful existence. So, I'm really excited about our cabin trip out to Echo Lake again this year. We're going to go for 3 nights. There's a little cabin we rent out there. There's no Wi-Fi. There's no cellular signal. There's no TV. There's no electricity. It's way out in nature on this beautiful little electric motor lake only. So it's dead quiet. And it's surrounded by mountains and foothills and wildlife. And I am so excited about going there again, looking forward to it. But you know what? All the feelings are what I'm really looking for. You see, the experiences we having they're relaying, we're thinking about it and we're producing feelings about it. And the joy of it is we can produce those feelings at any time through thought, and they are no less real than the experience itself. As a matter of fact, that's one of the beautiful things about the mind, and it's also one of the issues. Our mind cannot tell whether something is actually happening or whether it's only because we're thinking about it. This is the truth of things. Your mind cannot differentiate between your thoughts that will cause your body to react and something that's actually happening external to you that causes your body to react. Your mind does not know the difference. We would like everything to go the way we want, the way we plan, the way we expect. But we always have to remember, we're only looking at the tree. There is a vast expanse of forest, and that sea of consciousness sees it all. It sees the interactions amongst it all. It sees the ups and downs and the ins and the outs. And in this glorious, magnificent fashion, every single action we take is made perfect, is made whole, is made right. It's all about our evolution. It's all about that growth. And like I said, there's a part of me that sees that forest, and I know that no one truly dies. I know that no one truly suffers, and that those children are not dead. But in this illusion, in this Maya, we are here to learn not on the exterior of ourselves, but on the interior of ourselves. To be able to look, and to look with compassion, with the eyes of Creator, and say, I created that in some way. What am I going to do about it? I am responsible for my creation. This is what we're here to understand. We're here to learn how to be responsible creators, how to be the same sort of creator that sea of consciousness is. And we would like to blame that sea of consciousness. We would like to say, well, the reason we're not at peace is because of God. Because God lets things happen. Well, wait a minute. If we didn't bother doing it in the first place, God wouldn't let it happen, would it? Because it wouldn't have happened. Responsibility is on us. Letting go of the drama of ego, accepting that in every situation, no matter what we may think about it, there is a higher purpose. There is a forest view that is making whatever is happening right now the best thing for your development, the best thing for your conscious growth, the best thing for a peaceful existence that you're so looking for. Everything teaches us, everything shows us, everything relays to us the path that we can take for that peaceful existence. And I'm not saying it's always easy. You know, being at peace actually takes a little bit of work. And the reason it takes work is we're the ones who've created this world. You know, God didn't dream up money. God didn't dream up war. We chose to. We chose it as an expression. And those expressions, you know, I think to myself, if you're that sea of consciousness, it's a good thing that you're not human in any way. Because I would look down upon the whole of my creation. I would look down upon the whole of humanity, and I would see all the children that I see loving children fighting and harming each other. Imagine what it would be as parents to watch your children in mortal combat with each other, hating each other, out to destroy each other, out to kill each other. Imagine that. Imagine watching one of your children lose their way so much that they turn into a murderer, and then the society takes them and imprisons them forever until they die finally in a cold little cell, surrounded by concrete and brick. No loved ones. Imagine that sea of consciousness. Imagine our Creator. How must that Creator feel? It's a blessing that we do not have the God of the Old Testament. because that God would wipe us all out. And in the way we behave, and the way we're behaving on this planet right now, I'd have a hard time not supporting it. I really would. Debbie says that really means trusting that what is happening is okay, but it may not look okay. And that's right. You hit the nail on the head. Whatever's happening is perfect, even though it doesn't look that way. And boy, the number of times in our lives that things happen to us that we thought were pretty terrible, that turned out to be the best thing for us, I mean, I lose count the number of times that's honestly happened. Our vision is narrow. Even in our conscious awakening, we have yet, as you awaken consciously, you go from 1 tree to 2 trees to 3 trees to 10 trees to 20 trees to 50 trees. Well, there's 7.5 billion trees on our planet alone. That sea of consciousness has its eyes on all of them. All of them. Loves every single one of them. How do we start with a peaceful existence? We drop the drama of ego that things aren't right, that things are not fair. And we instead focus on understanding that everything is perfect in what it shows us and the choices it offers us. And again, what do we come back to always? Meditation. Always back to meditation. And what meditation is, and this has been my realization, okay? And I'm a long-term meditator. I've meditated for about 25 years now, minus a year or two, plus or minus. I've experienced profound states of satori, usually once a month or so, on a really deep. I try to take 1 day a month as a retreat for myself, and I will spend most of the day in a meditative state. Meditation is not, for any other purpose except learning to see yourself, to really see what you are, to dive deeply into you. And you know what? You're not going to find yourself. You're not going to find a single spot where you exist in any corporal form. That is magnificent. That is the wondrousness that begins to bring the peace, and that is what you are does not exist incorporated here. You are consciousness itself. You are life itself. And in that you can take total peace. And again, we come to surrender, and surrender's got to be one of the hardest ones because, surrender and acceptance go hand in hand. Surrender is understanding that sea of consciousness sees the whole picture and surrendering to that. You know more than I. That's what surrender is really saying. Surrender is really looking up to that sea of consciousness and saying, you know better than I do. So is acceptance. Acceptance is saying, I accept what's in front of me. I see it. I recognize it. Why? Because you placed it here. Through me. Or not through me. But either way, it's here now. It must be accepted. You must surrender to it. You must accept the perfection in its appearance, in the way it causes you to choose again. And here's the big thing when it comes to a peaceful existence, okay? Stop fighting against anything. Informing, raising consciousness, working towards that which you choose, that which you wish to see manifest. That is where your energy needs to go. Those things which are already made manifest, to fight against them is not surrender. It's the opposite of surrender. In surrender, they will disappear. In fighting against, they will grow. This has always been the way. War begets more war. Pain begets more pain. Hate begets more hate. You cannot deal with any of the things that we do not want by pushing up against them. The way to deal with them is to acknowledge them, to accept their existence, to accept and surrender to the old ways of thinking and speaking and doing, and to choose new ways of thinking and speaking and doing. And then watching with joy as the new edifices of what we are consciously creating materialize into this Maya, this illusion. Quit fighting against anything. That means absolutely everything. It means accepting every single thing that is brought to your door openly. And if you can't do it with an open joy at what the lesson, what the gift, the communication is going to be, then try to develop a little bit of an expectation that you're going to see something that you value come out of it. And there will always be something valuable to you. There will always be something hidden in that thing that we would wish to fight against. You know, and part of the reason why we fight against things is because we think that what we're fighting against is causing us to have to make choices. And it is. But those choices have to be based not on what we see in front of us, but what we wish to manifest. When we make choices based upon what we see, we always end up dealing with symptoms. We never end up dealing with the problem. You see, homelessness is a symptom. Starvation to the tune of some 40,000 a day, a child every 6 or 7 seconds. Well, what a horrible, horrible thought. You know, according to my clock here, I've been talking for 41 minutes. That's 410 children who have died of starvation since the time I turned this video on this morning. Fighting against that, fighting starvation, fighting homelessness will amount in more homelessness and more starvation. We simply have to choose. We have to choose that it is no longer acceptable for a single human being anywhere on the planet not to be accorded the same standard of living guaranteed to everyone. We have to choose this at every level. We have to ensure, you know, and I'm not one to complain. I'm really not, because I have a pretty deep understanding that whatever's happening needs to be happening. You know, and I don't, you know, one of the things that we don't do is see inside each other's mouths very often, okay? But I could tell you that, you know, I have a nice 2 little rows of front teeth here, but that's all. There's nothing behind them. I have not had molars for years now. Why? Because part of the system that we're in, as a retiree, okay, on an armed forces retiree here in Canada, my dental coverage is next to nothing. If the tooth is going to fall out, they'll fill a cavity or they'll yank the tooth. That's essentially what I have. You know, but I can still eat. It's difficult sometimes. I can't eat a lot of the really chewy things that I used to. But I am grateful every day that I eat when so many do not. In order to have a peaceful existence, we must start and always live from that place of gratitude. And gratitude is easy when things appear to be going the way we want them to be. It's being grateful for being in the storm. It's being grateful when the winds of life are blowing you to and fro. It's being grateful when you feel like Any minute, you're going to let go and lose everything. That's what gratitude's really all about. It's understanding that even in what we consider the darkest times, we are the light. We're the ones who are meant to shine. Us. Inside every one of us is that sun. S-U-N. That light. That brilliant light of God. A peaceful existence begins in gratitude and ends with an unwillingness to pay any more attention than necessary to that which we no longer wish to choose, and instead paying attention to what we wish to choose. To not focus on the noise of our neighbor that's disturbing us, but instead focus on the little bit of peace we see in the plant in the window. To not focus on the things we perceive as going wrong during the day, but instead focus on the lessons and the communication that God is giving us all day. You know, every single encounter is God meeting God. A lot of times for the first time. A peaceful existence is understanding that. It's understanding that you are representative of that sea of consciousness. Now, what do you choose to create? We have that power. That is our power. That is our birthright, our heritage. We are conscious creators, just as powerful as the entirety of the whole, that one. And we are here to get that and to learn that. Being at peace brings you to a place where you can understand that no matter what it looks like in this life, it's okay. You can't mess it up. You know, we always think in terms of one existence, right? Little tiny space right there. 100 years or so, if you're lucky. But in fact, our existence is eternity in both directions. Find some peace in that. Find some peace in the knowledge that no matter where you think you are today in awareness, where you think you are today in suffering in some way, or things not going the way you want, or perhaps you feel like you failed somehow, or you're not good enough, those are not the truth. Every existence evolves you forward. Every existence evolves that magnificent being that you are forward in growth, in an evolution. Find peace in that. Much love and namaste to you all. I think we're going to wrap that up here for today. We do have a 6 o'clock on the Help and Awake channel tonight. And again, I do apologize for the weekend. We had troubles with our upload stream, and that's all been repaired now, and everything's looking really good. And so good to see you all again. Much love, namaste, and we'll see you all at 6 o'clock tonight. Take care.